Hey, this is Knife Standards. Today I'm going to be doing my long-awaited, long overdue full review of the Pena X Series Raptor. But first, please follow me at Knife Standards. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for a lot more knife content and weekly knife reviews. All right, cool. So let's get into it. I should have done this review weeks and weeks and weeks ago. It is way overdue, and I carry this knife for a few days after my unboxing, after my first impressions. I really enjoyed this in pocket, and then I kept getting cool knives, and I kept getting deliveries, and I had knife after knife making its way into my pocket and onto my table. And it kind of bumped this guy out of line, kind of bumped it to the back of the line. So I think part of the reason that happened was not only was I getting really epic stuff in, but some of the newer knives that I had been getting in were larger, and I've been kind of, I've been into and kind of leaning towards those larger knives lately, and this guy is the opposite of that. This is a really slim, small gentleman's carry knife, and I've been getting, these kind of big, chunky beasts, and these, big frame locks. So I thought it was time that I finally get this guy back in pocket. Carried it for a few more days this past week. Went out to dinner with it, and this is really the perfect, out to dinner, kind of out on the town knife, or if you're wearing a suit, this is what you take. So again, it's a gentleman's knife. This is by Enrique Pena. He designed it. He has these produced by Riot, so it is a Riot production, Riot OEMs. This design, along with a ton of other designs by Pena, and if you haven't had a Riot produced knife, you're missing out. They make some of the best quality production knives that I've ever experienced, and they're some of my favorite knives, regardless of the designer. Just having it produced by Riot, really, look at the centering. It's really ridiculous work, really ridiculous quality and ridiculous construction and fit and finish to these knives. So it is a titanium bolster lock. We have titanium up here. It's really, and if you don't know what a bolster lock is, it's basically a frame lock. You can see where the frame would be, but they have kind of milled out these sections for the scale to kind of sit in over the frame. So what that does is, if you've ever, I'll pull out the Nimble as an example. If you've ever had a titanium frame lock and you put that kind of lock bar pressure on, you're holding the lock bar and it's sensitive, and you go to flip it, no way. So you have to lay off of the lock bar and kind of be cognizant of that. I'm off the lock bar, and now it deploys. So when you have a bolster lock like this, where the frame is inside the scale, it doesn't matter where you put your finger, unless you're pressing up here, but that's kind of unnatural. It doesn't matter how hard you push here or where you're resting your fingers, it's still gonna deploy. So I think that's really cool right off the bat. Bolster lock, you have carbon fiber. Now they call it, let's see, what did they say on the box? They say marble carbon fiber. Does that look like marble to you? I don't think so. Now if we compare that to the Sakshi, now this is marble carbon fiber. I would consider the Raptor more of a shred carbon fiber, so not a big deal. But if you're into that kind of thing, marble carbon fiber, shred carbon fiber. Let's go ahead and get this guy flipped open. It is a front flipper, or even Some may consider this a top flipper because the flipper tab is on the top, but while you can do it kind of like this from the top, I prefer to do it kind of the traditional front flipper way. So I'll just get my fingers positioned. Again, doesn't matter really where they are because it's a bolster lock, and I'll get my thumb on top, and then pretty easy. Exceptionally easy for a front flipper. If you have trouble doing the front flipper on another design or another knife, you got to get a Pena, get a Raptor, and you will have a much easier time. Now, just look at that blade. Oh my God, ridiculous. Now, if you don't have anything by Riot, this is very typical Riot grinding, and this really kind of slicey, super thin hollow grind. I mean, I love those hollow, the kind of belt lines, belt satin on the hollow grind. It's just ridiculous. Now, as far as the blade shape goes, they're calling this a modified Wharncliffe, but I would say because of this slant, this is more of a reverse tanto. But I guess modified Wharncliffe, you know, I'm calling this reverse tanto. So it has really nice swedge up top. You can see the flat, and then of course, super thin hollow grind. Let's check the back. M390 blade steel, you can see right there. And let's check the lockup. Pretty good, pretty solid, just about 25% on the lockup. And you notice that there are these little kind of milled out sections, so I can get in there and release the scale to disengage the lock. Now I'll go ahead and flip it a couple times. Yeah, that was kind of a weak one. It is really an easy front flipper. Yeah. Super smooth. Oh, I'm trying to look in the freaking camera while I do this. All right, let me concentrate. It's so easy. I can't do it. No, there we go. So if you get your thumb on the top of the scale, it's pretty straightforward. You can also try and do the top flip. See if I can do it. Yeah. There we go. So, you know, my hands aren't really built for that, but if you can top flip it, great. You know, that's definitely a cool thing to do. Let's see if I can get a little bit better angle. No, it's gonna flat on my hand. Anyway, let's go ahead and get a quick size comparison going and see how it stacks up. I have the Nimble on my table, so go ahead and get it set up against the EMP EDC Nimble, which, by the way, the full review is coming soon for that guy. Let's also get it against one of my newer knives. Here is the Tactile Knife Co. Rockwall, and I have the thumb stud version. Let's get that. Oh man, you guys hear that? So very comparable, kind of gentleman style knife right there. And let's get my trusty Knife Standards mini measuring tape. Let's start with the Rockwall. So we got just about a little under 3 inches on the blade, and about 7 overall. Now for the Raptor, again, same blade size, just a little bit under 3 inches, and overall we are at about 6.5, so a touch smaller, about a 1/2 inch smaller than the Rockwall. And then of course the Nimble, again, this is about 3 inches on blade length, and we're coming in at just under 7 for the overall length. Now if you compare, let's just compare the grind lines. I expect this from Riot, but whew, pretty good job from QSP on the Nimble. Pretty sweet. And now, of course, the rock wall has a stone wash, and it is a flat grind, so we're not going to get those same grind lines, but we can just see kind of how this stacks up in hand. Again, very slim, very sleek gentleman's carry. So I'll go ahead and get these guys put away, and then we will talk some ergos. In hand, this thing is super comfortable. There are no hot spots. Really awesome kind of chamfered knockdown spine of the blade. And you can almost get up into the swedge if you wanted to do some detailed cutting or some precision, precision slicing. The action, super snappy. And if we look on the back, we'll just take a look at the clip really quick. I forgot to mention that. The clip is simple, has good retention, and it works. It's not my favorite looking clip. It's a titanium clip. In pocket, it's okay. It does its job. It's not my favorite clip, but it works. So what I really like about the clip is, and getting back to ergos, I don't feel the clip at all. And I can kind of rest my thumb up here. There is jimping, really light, kind of tasteful jimping right there on the spine, on the back part of the spine. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of this jimping continue up. It would have been really cool if it continued up even to there when this swedge starts, because it is a little bit slick. The blade, super slicey, really thin, really freaking sharp. I did cut myself with this guy, and it's just kind of like the ultimate gentleman's carry. Now, one interesting thing about Pena knives and the Pena X series is that he has a ton of variations, ton of different, they're kind of the same handle shapes, but a ton of different blade shapes. So I have them pulled up here. I'm just gonna go through them real quick. We got the dog leg, the Barlow, the Apache, which is pretty similar to this one, but it has a little nail nick. You got the Trapper, Swayback, Zulu. I mean, they're all very similar. Now, I haven't handled all of them, but as far as the handle goes, almost identical. And then they just have different grinds. Some of them have the nail nicks and different blade shapes. So kind of a cool variation, or a cool variety of knives from Pena, from his X series. He also makes customs. That's kind of his main gig, and I had a chance to check out some of those at Blade Show. I think it's a couple months ago, and that was really fun to be able to see his custom work up close and personal. Now, back to the Raptor. Overall, it's a cool knife. I mean, right now I'm into larger knives, kind of these bigger titanium frame locks, and while front flippers aren't my top, priority, they're not my favorite. I think that if you're gonna get a front flipper, this is the way to go. Now, do I have any really big critiques about this knife? No. The carbon fiber is nice. It is not marbled, it's shredded. The action, super snappy, really easy for a front flipper or for a top flipper. Definitely a great kind of beginner front flipper knife if you're not comfortable with front flipping. It is a bolster lock, excellent lockup, excellent feel on the action and on the ergos. Super slicey, super sharp, and just a ridiculous sweet belt satin hollow grind. M390 blade, titanium, and a reverse reverse tanto, I don't know, reverse tanto blade shape. So overall, awesome knife. Will this find its way in my pocket? Again, probably, but this is definitely one of those knives that I'm going to save for a night out, or, you know, if I'm going to a fancy dinner, or if I'm wearing a suit. This is for sure a going out knife. Now, there is one knife by Pena that I'm super pumped for, and it's called the Mula, and I have no idea when they're making another run of those, but that is going to be my next Pena venture. So until then, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I finally got this full review out there so you guys can check it out and see what the Pena Raptor, see what the X series is all about. And I have a bunch more reviews coming, a ton of content, and I really appreciate everyone who's watching, liking, subscribing. It means a lot. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you later. This has been Knife Standards.